It's interesting because when I saw you speak for the first time, we connected on LinkedIn, and the first thing Emma said to me was just segueing. Something popped up when you said that the interviewer said, "Let's go for coffee," or whatever it was. But remember, one of the points yesterday was the taming the inflation beat was value your time. Less.
I'm terrible at that. Don't ask me about that.
But I was going to ask you, so how do you choose? And then one of the questions came up. So I believe we enter this area where you do need to just, like you did with me, you said, hey, Ryan, when I'm next in London, let's meet for lunch. Okay, so Emma spoke at an event. Now, she's going to tell you a little bit in a moment about some of the tribes that she belongs in and some of the masterminds that she belongs in. It's just incredible people. And to be 1 degree away from that. And Emma said, when I'm next in London, please reach out to me. It's this date. Let's go for lunch, right? And then that ended up to this relationship now happening. Yeah. And someone asked me, well, how do you know, how do you know, because we all got a limited amount of time, space, time in the day, and my argument is that we should be doing more of that. We should reach out more, open ourselves, more accessible to people, which you do really, really well. How do you know, when to, for boundaries perspective, when to have more rigid boundaries and or open yourself up more?
I mean, I'll give you a couple of answers. I mean, broadly speaking, in all seriousness, I'm not the best at it. And saying no is a really important skill because I get exhausted amongst anything else, right? We all have lives. I've got children, I've got adopted children, take care of my grandma. There's a whole long list. We've all got stuff, and those should get my energy. But it's a little bit like shiny things. My life has already been infinitely more interesting than I could ever have expected. And it's because I've made, it really is because of the people I've met and the experiences I've had as a result. Now, look, I've grown a business. The Queen gave me a badge. Some nice stuff has happened. My bio sounds important, so I get to sit next to the interesting people in the room quite often. I recognise that, but I did all the work to get there. It's a bit... But, so, I mean, my first answer is I find that very hard.
To say no?
Yeah, I do. And also, I do. But generally speaking, in terms of ways I'm a bit more organised about it. First of all, I always say that I remember the person, unless it's a horrendous question. I remember the first person that asked me a question in a room. And generally speaking, the first person that asked me a question or a good question is my pay it forward. Because often there's large rooms. Even I'm going to see my team in Brazil next week, along with a couple of my key colleagues, and there'll be lots of stuff to talk about, right? And I won't remember everything, but you have to have that is generally the way that I operate. I will say, for example, that I have benefited from things like Twitter, because that's where journalists are, that's where leaders are. I mean, in fact, somebody that is currently a total rock star consulting in our business that we could never afford to have in any way, doesn't want a job, but is extraordinary, is someone that I met many, many years ago who was at the time an editor for a section of a newspaper, and she had tweeted asking for a particular type of female founder. And it's one thing I have a bucket load full of, it's female founders. So I replied back with 5 people I knew who were perfect for that, only just because I knew that. But that was the start of a relationship that's ended up being her being materially relevant to helping move our business forward in an area we can't. So, it's hard. I can't do everything. In fact, I have to do a lot less now, and I have to say no. But
it's interesting because it wasn't. I would probably never have had I wouldn't have probably been as cheeky as to ask to go for lunch with you, but it was interesting.
But isn't it? It's like, why is my time more valuable than yours, right? We all have to respect each other, but we're all equals, but in different ways, right? So, for example, if someone can't, I remember someone that recently said no to me, and I got to tell you, I was like, what the First of all, I was like that because I was like that. Second of all, we're loosely related. I was like, wow, that's punchy. And third of all, it's not like I was like, let's go for 5 hours to do a thing. It was something I was like, but I have to say, it was actually a really good lesson, because I was like, okay, he's being extraordinarily organised. He's building a very large business. I was like, you know what, he was like, I'm entirely focused on my day job.